Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be doing our 2024 Louisiana Ragin Cajuns softball preview here today. Jalen, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, what's happening, Chief? Another great day to be a Raging Cajun. Like I said, always with softball season coming up.
Yep, it is. I like looking at Warren Nolan, and it's a very good guide to kind of give you a synopsis of what to expect from teams here. But in the beginning of it, it's kind of weird. It's kind of wacky because there's no data put into it yet. There's no wins, there's no losses. So it kind of gets fluctuating things like right now, the Cajuns RPI is number one, such as everybody else too. So that's going to change and it's going to get different. So basically, here's what it has for the Cajuns. It's got them finishing 45 and 12, 24 and 0 in the Sun Belt. Now, granted, I don't think they're going to go undefeated in the Sun Belt. It's got them having an RPI of 14, a strength of schedule of 13, non-conference strength of schedule of 3. So let's go through game by game to kind of see what we think here is going to happen. But you look at the schedule here, it's obviously a very tough schedule. There are several top 25 matchups they have to play this year, and they're going to get a taste of some really top five teams here. So this is going to be something to kind of see, especially early on in the season, to see how the Cajuns handle this adversity that they're going to be facing early on. It's going to be some tough growing pains, but look, this team is more veteran, has more experience than last year's team, which could very well propel them to a run at OKC and make a potential national title run for sure as well. So if you look at it here, they broke that glass ceiling of getting out of the regionals last year. They made it to the super regionals and they ended up losing to Washington in 2 games here, and they were very close to having a super regional right there in Lafayette against McNeese. So we had did a what if on that and see what would have happened. I think they would have punched it to OKC if they would have got that matchup, but you know, it just didn't happen that way. So Jalen, what are some things you look at this squad that you're excited about as we enter 2024?
I think I'm excited about some of the players coming back. I mean, you have Sophie Piscos, Alexa Langoliers, Jordan Campbell, and you can't forget about the base stealing woman herself, Maya Davis. I mean, they have a lot of key pieces right there that are coming back. They add with some new pieces on the team. Sam Landry is back. She even played a lot last year going into this season. So I think the returning players who are going to those are the players who are going to make a big impact like they did last year. Like you said, like more experience. They're a more experienced team than they were last year, which means they can make a deeper run this year in softball in the tournament. They should once again win the Sun Belt, and we'll see. Maybe. Do you think maybe they'll be able to host a regional right here in Lafayette? What you think about that, Chief?
I think it's depending on what happened. Last year I felt like they should have hosted. And I think LSU should have been granted a host spot as well, with both of them being right there. I think the reason why they moved into Baton Rouge because they wanted to give LSU one over the Cajuns one, but Lansing Park can hold more people than Tiger Park can. That is something that I thought was kind of peculiar if you're looking at it that way. But I think from an experience standpoint, if you look at this roster and break it down here, like this, Gary Glasgow added some you know, some transfers coming in. And it's got, Maddie Hayden's in there, Victoria Valdez, Sam Bryan. They're going through got some, young talent coming up here. Lauren Alred, a really great freshman season. We'll see if she can avoid the sophomore slump. That happens to a lot of good players as well. Sam Landry, Jordan Campbell, like you said earlier, like the junior class that you look at here, they have a lot of juniors on the squad. And this junior class was ranked number one in the country. So that run that they're going to have here, it's either this year or next year that they're going to make a really deep run. I think the roster is set up for that kind of thing there. Sam Landry's a junior. And I'm trying to see who else they got. junior. No, Sophie Pisco's being a senior. Alexa Langeliers, like you talked about. Kayla Falterman played some time last year. Everybody, Maya Davis only being a sophomore, they all got experience last year, like Lauren Alred. And it's gonna Cecilia Vasquez, she played last year. Sam Ryan, Victoria Valdez, Maddie Hayden, Gabby Stutes being a freshman. She's from St. Thomas More right there in Lafayette. Denali Longak, Lokacker. I'm gonna mess that up, but like senior, transfer portal edition, and that's something that it's gonna be interesting to see how this squad kind of welds together and see how they do here. She transferred from Iowa, so it's gonna be looking at some of her stats here, what she did in 2023. If you looking at, let's look at her career here. Oh, they don't have nothing on there. Anyway, even on the website, they don't have that. So anyway, skip all that there. But like she came in, this transfer portal is gonna make things interesting here. Oklahoma being the dynasty that they are is gonna be very hard to unseat. It's going to be a lot going on there. So let's look at the schedule here. 45-12, going to be undefeated at home, 17-8 on the road, 24-0 in conference play, 21-12 non-conference. So all these losses that Warren Nolan's predicting is going to be non-conference. So Jalen, let's pick these first 5 games here. I got them sweeping every single one of these games. I think they'll beat Cal both times. I think they'll beat Chattanooga both times. I think they'll beat New Mexico. So that's got to be, I got them at 5 wins. What you got, Jalen?
Yeah, so looking at it, Chattanooga, I think it's going to be a win. Cal, New Mexico, yeah, these first few games kicking off the season for the Cajuns, they're going to be some dubs.
All right, so we go on the road, taking on at Mississippi State, a doubleheader in that one. It's got them splitting that one there. But these are kind of like quick turnaround games. This like little run they have going here, like they have 2 games on the 13th, one on the 16th, 17th, 18th, and then 20th. So I think they will slip up at some point right here somewhere, probably on at Mississippi State. Maybe I got them losing one. I think they'll beat Mississippi State. I think they'll take 2 against Baylor. I think they're going to be able to. Baylor being ranked number 19 in the country, going to be a very good ball club when they get down there to Lafayette. And but I think the Cajuns here. I think they're going to beat Baylor. I think they'll get 2 or 3 against them, especially with them being at home. That'll work out very well. They'll beat Louisiana Tech, so that'll be 3-4. I think they'll go 4-2 during this stretch right here. So that'll bring up my record to 9-2 so far when they go into the Lone Star State Invitational. What you think, Jalen?
Well, see, it's looking at the competition between Baylor and Mississippi State. It's like, okay, I can see the SEC competition is stiffer this year. I know we talked about it before with Oklahoma and Texas coming into the mix. I think Mississippi State is one of those sleeper teams. I think the Cajuns are actually split right there between Mississippi State and I have to agree with you right there with Baylor. I think they'll take 2 of the 3. I feel like Baylor will win the first game, but then the Cajuns just come right back and win the next 2, take that series at home.
Yeah, now this is gonna be the hardest part of their schedule right here. Like this, then the factor of these next 5 games right here, that Lone Star Invitational, you got number 3 Stanford, number 5 Texas, Colorado State, and number 3 Stanford again at number 5 Texas. I think they'll grab one of these top 5 teams and beat them. I think they'll beat one of them. I don't think they'll sweep them. I think they'll split one of them. So I don't think it'll be Texas. I think Texas will win at home. So let them losing both of them there to Texas. I think they'll split Stanford. That's gonna be real tough to win. I think they'll beat Colorado State. So I think they'll go 2-3 during the stretch, but this is a brutal stretch for them. Until they can prove that they can win these kind of games here, these really top 10 teams here, which they haven't been able to like they beat LSU last year, but LSU wasn't a top 10 team. And there's no reason to think LSU is going to be like that this year. Even though LSU is going to be a good ball club, they're going to be a top 25 school team this year, but they're not going to be like the Oklahomas, right? So you gotta find a way to beat these guys. The way they played against Washington last year, not using this almost the same kind of squad here. So, and this quadrant one ranking that they're predicted to have is 9-12. So you can't really say that they're going to be, if you're in a top five, you're probably going to be in the top 10 in RPI or top 25 in RPI. So, looking at it that way, and we had two losses, 9-2 entering this, and them dropping probably 3 games. That'll be five. I got them being 10-5 by the time they exit this. I think, yeah, it'll be 10-5. No 11-5. Apologies. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, so I have them dropping the first game to Stanford and the first game to Texas. Unfortunately, I think they'll come and have a good game against Colorado State. I actually have them losing to Stanford again. I think Stanford is really just one of the top college softball teams throughout uh, college softball. But I do think the Cajuns will come and in that last game at in Austin. I think they'll steal that one from Texas because they need to prove that they can win, like you said, against a top team, especially after going out last year to Washington in both games. I think stealing one at Texas will set them up further along throughout the season.
I mean, that's going to be a really good RPI run. If they can get 2 wins out of this between Texas and Stanford, that'll be huge. They don't have to win every single game of this thing. I think they win one or two. They're setting themselves up for the host of regional. And I think that's what, like, it'll be really hard for the committee to turn them down if they win. If they could beat Baylor in a series and win two of these four against these top five teams, that's really going to set you up to host a regional. So, at Nichols, I think they'll beat Nichols. I don't think it'll be that like crazy to think. Now, the OU tournament, this one's going to be kind of an interesting one. Miami, Ohio, Liberty, and number one, Oklahoma. It's not they're losing four straight right here. I think Cajuns take care of business against Liberty. I think they'll beat both 2 games against Liberty. Oklahoma, I got them losing both of those. Oklahoma's just on another level. I think they'll be Miami, Ohio, and they'll lead into the Milsa Moore tournament. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, the Cajuns will. I think it should easily beat Nichols. They'll beat Miami, Ohio, but it's just so unfair that they have to play Oklahoma. Oklahoma being the SEC now, it's like, come on now. Oklahoma has been a powerhouse for who knows how long. The Cajuns will lose both of those games, unfortunately. But losing four straight, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll take at least one of these games against Liberty. I don't want to get them both of them right now, but I think they'll take at least one. But then ultimately, they're going to lose to both of them to Oklahoma.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin, then you got at Central Arkansas. Then Stephen F. Austin at Central Arkansas. Look, I've seen them play against Central Arkansas. There's a talent difference between both these programs here. That a year is not going to make a difference in making that up. But I think they'll win all four of these games here on the road in Conway, Arkansas, to lead to go take on McNeese that next week and will win that one as well. What you got, Jalen?
Oh yeah, they head to Arkansas, and it'll be a nice trip. They'll come back with a lot of dubs because they're going to beat Stephen F. Austin and Central Arkansas. So it's going to be a nice trip back home.
Yeah, I got them beating McNeese, who was a regional participant last year. They did very well, almost beat Washington, like we said. We almost had a super regional in Lafayette, Louisiana, and that would have been a great gravy on top for the season there. Then you got the 3 game series against the Open Up Sun Belt Conference play at South Alabama. They'll probably sweep them here. Then you got at LSU, then at Louisiana Tech here. LSU, they played them 3 times this year. I think they'll win 2 of those 3 against LSU. I just think that I know I said on the LSU softball podcast that like I go back and forth with this one every single day because it's just like I think people are undervaluing what the are doing this year. I think they'll win 2 of those 3. I think it's gonna be whoever had the most home games, and I think it ended up being LSU. That's why I kind of picked them. But I do think LSU will drop 2 of them to UL. So I think it'll just depend on how the pitching goes for both these schools here. I do think LSU is kind of falling a little bit behind the Cajuns here in terms of softball program prestige in the state of Louisiana. So give me the Cajuns to knock off Louisiana Tech and LSU at Tiger Park. I think they'll win them next 5 straight heading into Coastal. Who you got, Jalen?
Yeah, I have the Cajuns beat McNeese. I think the Cajuns that should be I mean, of course, I feel like it's a rivalry game, not only because of in-state competition, but at the same time, McNeese literally cost the Cajuns for hosting a super regional last year. They're going to be out for some kind of revenge, so I think they'll beat McNeese heading into Sun Belt conference play. They should sweep South Al, then in-state rival Louisiana Tech. I think they'll beat them heading into Coastal, and then App State. I heading all the way through conference play, James Madison, Texas State. I don't see the Cajuns really have a lot of worries until they have to go to Tiger Park to face LSU, and I think that'll be a good one. I think the Cajuns are maybe a little more experienced than the Tigers this year. It'll be a great game. I think the Cajuns will win that one, but it would be a close one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one here. So they got the Coastal. I think they'll sweep against Coastal. I think they'll sweep against App State. James Madison, I think they'll drop one. I think they're gonna drop one somewhere. I think James Madison, the series that they'll drop, not the series, but I think they'll drop a game there. Probably 2 and 3 through that part right there. Then you got to add Texas State. Texas State's a pretty good ball club themselves. They're not gonna lose that series against them though. I think they'll maybe go 2 and 3 in that one as they head into at LSU. Got them got them losing that one to LSU and got them beat Nichols heading to Southern Miss. What you got, Jalen?
Yeah, see them playing against Texas State, like you said, and then James Madison. Yeah, I feel like I said, I feel like they won't have any worries. But then, you know, in every sport, there's always a trap game, and I feel like anytime you have to go to San Marcos, I just think that anytime you have to go on the road playing in a wild atmosphere against some of these teams, you're going to drop a game or two. Now, I don't think they're going to drop it's 2 games and lose a series like you said against Texas State, but I think for sure like they'll win that series. Um, I have them beating LSU. I just feel like LSU, both teams are very experienced, but at the same time, I just feel like the Cajuns just I feel like they have more to prove, even though they beat the Tigers last year in the regional. I just feel like that they they look at the Cajuns as they look at LSU as the more superior team just because they're in the SEC and all that. I just think the Cajuns have a lot to prove. Um, and then coming back home against Nichols and then starting a series with Southern Miss. I think that they'll be beat Nichols again. And Southern Miss is very interesting, but I mean, looking at it's gonna be at Lansing, so Cajuns are gonna be ready. And it's right there in mid-April, close to the end of the regular season, close to it, and that's when you have to pile up the wins and getting all the momentum on your side.
Yeah, this other Miss game is gonna be interesting to see here. They definitely scheduled more LSU this year, which I think will help them a lot, especially if LSU does play very well in the SEC during this part here. Those ranked wins will definitely start piling up here. They definitely have a very good non-conference schedule for sure to maybe host a regional this year. That's been a big thing under Gary Glasgow that they want to host a regional really bad. So Southern Miss, I think they'll sweep them. LSU, I, I know they're gonna drop one to LSU. I think they'll win this one at home. And then you got at McNeese. I think they'll beat McNeese again. And at ULM on the road, they should beat ULM. Troy, I think they'll sweep out their final homestand against Troy as they prepare for Sun Belt Conference play, tournament play. So they should, I think they'll win the Sun Belt for another consecutive year. They've had a run, basically a dynasty run, the Sun Belt. They're the powerhouse of the Sun Belt, basically. You can call it the Cajuns. So, um, and they're looking solid again this year. So it's this train isn't stopping anytime soon that I can tell. An RPI of 14, strength of schedule 13, non-conference strength of schedule 3 is what the predicted rankings are. So this will be interesting here to see if they even host a regional. This with this resume, non-conference RPI 22, and you got 16 host sites. Jalen, does this get them a regional berth, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think this year Jerry Glasgow, after not get hosting one last year, I think this year he kind of bulked the schedule up and said, you know what, I believe in my girls. I believe they can get these wins against these great teams like LSU, and maybe just maybe. I mean, he put Oklahoma on the schedule. Just goes to show you how much faith he believes in his team. I think if they could come out with as many wins as we think they'll get, they will host a regional this year in Lafayette.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. Like if they can get some of these top 25 wins here, they will be hosting a regional here. If they get, I'm looking at that Lone Star Invitational with a bullseye. Like if they could pick up two top five wins, they definitely have it on lock at that point. As long as they don't lose a lot of the games after that, right? I mean, you still got to win your conference games and stuff like that. But if they keep everything in front of them, they win those two out of those four top five teams there. That's going to be very hard to overcome toward the end of the year with RPI as long as they're doing very well, Stanford and Texas. So if like basically you're rooting for the people that you beat, basically. So it's going to be interesting to see. So Jalen, how you see the season finishing out for the Cajuns here when they take on McNeese, ULM, and Troy?
I think they'll for sure beat McNeese. ULM, I just don't see ULM being much competition for the Cajuns. And then just finishing out there with Troy, I think they'll beat Troy and have a little winning streak going into the Sun Bowl tournament, which I expect them to win it again. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to Sun Belt tournament, it's the Cajuns or the field. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think the softball program is the most consistent across all the sports at UL. Basically, they are always in competition for the NCAA regionals, super regionals, and even women's college world series are definitely a name that gets brought up a lot. Top 25 program, you can't really go against that too much. So thank y'all for tuning in to this season preview episode here for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns softball team here. I so basically. How far do they go? I think is the question I think a lot of us want to ask here. I'm gonna come out and say I think they make it to the first round of the Women's College World Series. I don't think they make a deep run this year. I do think they make it over there, but I think they win Super Regional this year. What you think, Jalen?
Oh yeah, Women's College World Series, 100%. I think this is the year that they make it. Now they could go far in it, or they could lose in the first round. I mean, I'll be proud of the Cajuns either way. But I think this year, the way the team is looking, the way the schedule looks, and the confidence those girls and Coach Glasgow has for the team expectations this year, it's going to be the Women's College World Series this year for them.
Okay. Thank y'all for tuning in here to the Fishbowl Radio. So we'll see y'all here next time here on the Fishbowl Radio. This was our 2024 Louisiana Education softball season preview.